I think we can start one of the topic that everyone is talking about every single day, but we also still talk about it for many years. But what is the solution right now, which is the MXP implementation? Before I start, I just want to introduce with you about myself. So this is me. You can look in the left corner with the one with the white skirt. So it's me. And I'm currently the program innovation for MXP. And just in case you forget, but most importantly, I used to be the regional office of AB. That's in the main point of today. And this was a very great region as well with a very good people. And you as well. And also before that, I originally from Vietnam. So yeah, hi. Okay, so for the session today, I would have like gonna have like mainly four objective for you, but then the first part is we're gonna go a little bit deeper into understand the indirect impact and understand the why do we need to implement MXP. Then we're gonna start with the first conversation about like okay right now what is the first thing that we need to know in terms of like talent strategy planning and so on and how we can set the direction together. And then we're gonna start to have the conversation about the short-term operation, how we can synergy with TM in the case that how we manage the operation in a horizontal way and vertical way. And finally, in the long-term conversation, it's like about culture and people. And finally, is about education. Before we start, I know that a lot of people here, you are not TM, you are not like doing front office or you are doing other things, right? Me too. I also doing other things as well. But then when we come into TM, when we talk about membership, one of the most important thing, as you know, that this program cannot be run with only TM, but this program need to be one thing that should be run by everyone in the whole MC team, in the whole network. Because imagine that we are having 1,000 member and 1,000 member in 1,000 each and which means that we need to have 1,000 body to deliver experience for these people. And this is also the reason why I think that this session gonna give you a lot of insight and input about how you can actually synergy with your TM to implement the program, especially in the next peak. A lot of people gonna start to implement it, and what can we do at the first step? Okay. And trust me, it will not be very boring. It will not boring. It will be interesting and clear. Okay. I receive a lot of people from the network, not just TM, but also like MCB or MCVB. They're asking me, we actually implement the MXP milestone and we are seeing that people is implement the things, but then we are not sure whether if we implement the MXP milestone, right? Whether it can help for my department, whether it can help for my function to have more talent and to have enough resource right now, because right now we are lacking of talent and we are a lot of member is leaving the organization as well. But then before we starting into everything deeper, I just want to know from your opinion and from your perspective, right? So when you come into MC planning, what are the talent inside that you want to know as MCEP of the whole entity? So you can also type in the chat so that I can know like what is the insight that you want to know the most as MCEP. Struggle of membership. Cool, Louis. Anyone else? Leadership highlight. Hi, Indonesia. Current state of performance and engagement. I see. Current competency or gap in knowledge. I see. The people. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else that you want? Any insight that you want to know as well? I just want to do a sensing. Don't worry if it's not correct. HR gap after recruitment. Talent capacity. Makes sense. Okay. It's very interesting, right? So the people who coming from TM, right? What they're gonna ask you about the inside of the people, like engagement, development. But then for the people coming from the front office or other department, we're gonna ask about the talent capacity, the gap in knowledge to make member to perform. The readiness of membership for higher role, but still figure out a way to do that. Cool. That's a lot of good insight as well. Yes, achievement per member. Cool. I can see a lot of big gap, like in no, not big gap, but a lot of different in the way that how a TM people is asking about it and how a normal people like in other department asking about concerning about membership, right? Usually when we go into the talent planning, right, and especially when we have synergy space between TM and other department, we're gonna talk about the conversation about quantity, like what is the leadership pipeline? Do we have enough people apply? Do we have enough HR to perform? What is the structure of each department right now, the JD, or whether they have enough capacity to perform or not? And I think it's also similar with a bit similar with the thing that a lot of people is asking. And when I were operation, when I were doing or B2C before, right, I also asking about this kind of conversation. But then before I telling you about other things, I just want to let you know one thing that recently you hear a lot about the membership in our organization is dropping. We are dropping in number of member in this context. However, I just want to like asking you and just a food for thought is, do you think is it really the only problem we are having? And also, we also have a lot of situations like member don't apply for higher role, they are changing JD all the time, they don't have enough capacity and a lot of problem happening. But also, is it the only problem we are having right now? Because what I can tell you is right now, I know that we are dropping in number of members. Of course, we need to have minimum HR to perform, but also at the same time, we need to look into the current member that we are having in the organization. It's better that we have 50 members and then these 50 members have very good experience rather than we have 100 members and then 50 of them have very bad experience, and then when they leave ASEC, they leave a very bad brand advocacy. And we are now having members and asking them to perform, and but then we are not very clear about the experience they're having. And I know that you already know about this, but then I would like to tell you once again is when we talk about membership conversation, all the conversation need to have a balance between the quantity and quality. So both of the things need to happen at the same time, which means that beside the number that we want to know, which it makes sense, like beside number of like HR, ID, and everything we want to know, we also need to start to asking and talking about the experience of the people that we are having as well. Because the thing is like these are the insight like about the number of leader we create, the quality of member experience that we are talking about is also something that we are as the MCEB of the whole entity need to care about, especially if you read about the asset way, right? Well, the asset way, what we are striving to do in the asset way is to create leader. So which means that what we are doing in membership is also with the same purpose as well. And also I want to let you one know one thing is before if you focusing on the member experience, right, the thing is like it's gonna affect to the way that we're managing the whole operation and the synergy, the change management for the MXP, the everything as a whole. Because here because here um this one is the business model of the MXP that maybe some of you already see it, especially in the launching. But then I want you to notice in the part about our customer, the member, and the second customer is team leader and executive board. So everything that you are working and everything that you are in terms of synergy, in terms of like understanding or management with the TM and how you implement the program with your member, implement the experience with your member, all of the conversation synergy between you and TM gonna happen before this full scope of member experience management. So which means that the conversation right now, not just about get keep develop, but beside this, we need to also talk about what is the overall insight of the talent. What is the quantity conversation, which is we still need to talk about ideal HR, the talent capacity, how many people do we have, and so on. But also at the same time, we need to talk about the quality, which is the talent experience, the standard we deliver, and the leadership, which is something that we promise, but then we are not really focusing on delivering it for the member. And also one more thing is at MCEB, how you're gonna work with TM. So right now, the role of TM is not just focusing on administration and doing recruitment all the time, but also TM need to think about how they can synergy and working with you in a better way. For example, they should play the role as strategic decision consultancy. So which means that when you are making decision for your department on focus product, or if you want to have 10 strategy, but then if the TM people say that we don't have enough people or capacity, or this is the plan that I suggest for you, then you need to cut the focus, or you need to adjust the make the decision in another way. And also for the team leader, TM gonna be the one that support your team leader in understand how to implement the team management practice as well. And these are the things that when TM synergy with you, they gonna have you to making better decisions. They're gonna play a more strategic role. And when they are playing a more strategic role in this way, our conversation is not just about member experience, but also after member experience, we can also achieve the organizational goal as well, which is something very different that with the past that in the past when we talk about conversation with TM, right? We usually start with exchange goal. From exchange goal, we break down into number of people we need to recruit. However, we just talk about conversation about quantity, but then we totally don't have any clear conversation or a set of things to talk about quality. And of course, everything need to go together, quantity and quality. And in this time, member experience implementation gonna be the starting point where we're gonna cut the loop up, keep talking about just talking about productivity or just talking about member being burned out, but we're gonna start to talking about how we can deliver a good experience. And from here, these people having a good experience gonna contribute more for your department, gonna contribute more for organization as a whole. And also, the second thing is why we need to focusing on MXP implementation. Yes, of course, it's gonna be because it will shape the way that how our culture and value is gonna guide the people to make the change management happen. So basically, for right now, every department is doing a lot of change management. We are changing the business model of the whole organization, but you need to remember that the people that actually making the change happen is our member. So but at the same time, TM is making change management in how they are managing the experience as well. So if you want to make the change management happen in your department and for the whole MC team and the whole entity, which means that the first people, the first target that we need to focusing on is the people that gonna make the change happen. We usually talk about the standard delivery and the part in the middle, right? However, as MCEB, I want you to focusing on
It's 0
I want you to
hours.
focusing on the circle around here, which is the direction, the strategy, the value, and the culture. So TM can actually we're gonna have a global standard, but how we're gonna deliver standard in different way is gonna be depend on what is the strategy, what is the direction that you're gonna shape for the whole organization. And based on this one, how you can integrate it into the way that you deliver the standard. And from here, when you deliver the standard for member, then it's going to impact on what we are doing as well. If it's not easy for you to understand, then I would like to show you one of the research that we are also having from Deploy. So basically, let's take well-being as one of the standard that we are focusing on right now. And also a lot of organizations are talking about well-being. So basically, when you talk about well-being of your member, there are a lot of ways for us to implement the well-being. So at the whole organization, at the whole MC team, we need to understand how we can embed the well-being, improve the well-being in the way that we build the relation, which in ISEC is community. But then also in the team, how we're gonna work on it, in an individual, how we're gonna work on that. And also after you implement and you ensure that the well-being of member, which is one of our standard, is being delivered super good, then these people gonna perform better and it's gonna impact on the whole organization, including cultural, and it's also including the operation. So which means that this way of approach is very different from the past, because in the past, when I still remember there's a time that a lot of people blaming TM that not building enough capacity for member, right? And I'm sorry, I also used to be a part of it as well, because I don't understand things at that time. And but then however, whether we approach in the past, if member don't perform, we train more and we ask them to learn more about knowledge. However, and then if they don't learn more and if they don't perform more, we fire them. However, the way that we approach right now, if member is not performing well, then we need to review on the experience, the 16 standard that we are deliver for them. And if there's something wrong with it, then it's gonna be we're gonna know exactly if we want to improve their performance, then whether it's gonna be about their well-being, or whether is it gonna be about their JD, or is it gonna be about what kind of factor affect to the experience, so that we can change it and we can impact on it in a different way, and of course it's gonna be in a better way as well. And finally, when you implement the MXP with your team, the key thing is like it's gonna affect a lot to how you are managing on your operation timeline as well. Because usually when we talk about a conversation about ideal HR to perform for our department, how many what is the retention rate of people in my department, how many active member do we have, or the conversation about the talent byline that I need to have for my department so that I can perform, right? Or HR timeline overall, basically like when I gonna get enough people and everything that we are used to talk about, but in the past we don't know where we can start the conversation. Everything that we need to talk about is actually how you can implement and tracking your member experience with TM, so that after you tracking and after you understand and align the timeline of your operation with HR timeline, which is this funnel timeline of TM, then you can actually see a very clear on the way that okay, if your operation needs to start from, I would say February, which means that you need to have enough ideal HR before February, for example, or what is the retention rate in your network right now. You don't need to ask TM anymore to give you the input, because if you are working on the framework of funnel tracking, like how many members that you have in your department, then from the retention rate of real life to finish, then you can already know is it a good retention rate or is it not a good retention rate, how many people is tracking the experience, and then based on this one you can also start to have a conversation with TM to see how we can improve and fix the correct problem, the root cause problem that we are having with the member experience. Yeah, and basically from all of the things that I just explained for you here, why I'm talking about different things, it's just because we need to understand one fact that MXP can only be the solution for membership context right now, because everyone want to have more member, but it can be our only the solution if we actually give them a chance to implement in a proper way. Usually in the past we don't, when we have a new program coming, right, usually we just implement half of it and then we say, oh, this program or this standard is not working. But actually if you actually implement 100% of the milestone, then at that time you can actually start to see the indirect impact that it affect to your department, it affect to your goal achievement of the whole department as a whole. So which means that how to make it happen, the first step is we are synergy with the TM people and also educate for your team leader as well about the implementation of the MXP. So this one is the first part about the indirect impact, that why MXP implementation is important for everyone, and it's gonna be affect to everything that we are doing in different departments, not just TM. And TM is playing the role at the agency that giving you the talent solution, and that you are the one that have all your member, and you are the one that all the experience of your leader in the department as well. Okay, so the second conversation that we're gonna start to talk about is the talent planning, and it's gonna affect also a lot to how we are working with TM. This one is just about the global focus, and I just want to let you know that okay, what is something that globally we are focusing on in MXP overall. Basically, everything we are working on or managing on or doing is gonna falling into this full scope of member experience management and the TM as strategic business partner. So basically right now in MXP and what we are trying to do is also how we can start to do the planning and tracking of the member experience based on the funnel, like the MX funnel timeline with the operation timeline, how we can also educate network in implementing the existing standard and in improving the experience quality of the member, and also how we can start to build the capacity for network to implement the gens. And again, I want to let you know that if we have 1,000 members in your entity, then which means that how many buddy do we need to have to deliver experience for this 1,000 member? And you are executive board, TM, and team leader are the buddy in this case. So which means that we need to learn together to deliver the standard, because there are some standard is gonna be delivered by team leader, but there gonna be some standard like community need to be delivered by the whole MC team as well. And then there's something gonna be happen in the long term, like team need to synergy with OD if you are OD here. They're gonna be something that you need to synergy with them. If you are marketing here, they're gonna be something new that you're gonna synergy with them as well. And but then this one is from something for the long term. And right now, everything we are focusing on this one. So which means that right now in your entity context, what is the thing that your TM should focusing on. And this one is just the recommendation from us. Also, just one disclaimer. This one is not the AI 2022 strategy. This one is something that we are focusing on from beginning until now and also in the upcoming month. But it's also like the basic step of how things should be happen. And as you can see here, it's also similar with the collaboration. But then when you look into in this part, then you can see that there's a lot of things that as MC, you need to synergy with TM to make it happen. Like I would say, for example, in terms of funnel planning, right now, how we can actually align the timeline of your operation with the MX timeline. Because if we can align in this way, then we can tracking and we can ensure that you have enough people onboarding on time to perform, would mean in terms of quantity. And also second, in terms of quality, then how is the, for example, the EB team and the team leader need to work together to deliver the JD for the BDB for the member. EB team need to be the one that taking care for the whole community of your entity, or what is the workspace that you actually having in your entity as well. Team leader gonna be the one to focusing on team practice and so on. And finally is the capacity of the MC team, the LCEB in your commission, and also the team leader in your commission as well, to actually understand about the standard and have changing the mindset and also implement the MXP. This one is just a little bit about IDHR, but then I want to let you know that, of course, when you are planning IDHR with TM, right, we need to ensure we have enough minimum of HR based on the LC structure. If it's below this, it's not okay. Also, at the same time, please remember that we should not get plan for too many members. Imagine about what is the capacity of your team leader and also for you and TM together to manage the experience for the member. If you want to have 10 people to perform the JD, you still can, but whether you can ensure the experience for them or not. So my recommendation is ideal HR should be the one that be balanced, not too much of capacity for us to like not recruit too many, and then we cannot manage the experience, but also in the middle of the a bit balance. Okay, so that is about the overall direction, and based on this direction, what is your role in working with the MXP to make it happen as well? And as you can see, there's a lot of things that TM need to work with you. Now, in terms of the short-term conversation, right? Talk some short-term operation. I think this is the part that is gonna affect a lot in the way that how your MC team doing planning right now. So I will just showing you in this case, in the launching, we usually say that we have many ways to tracking the data, and it's very unclear for us to understand what is the number of member we need to have, or how we can plan for the member in a better way. And then that's why we need to have one funnel to tracking the data and asking the right question of what happening with my member. And that's why everything we are planning gonna based on the funnel. So what we need to do is imagine that you are the you have segment here, you and TM, and everyone have this segment. So what you need to do is you and TM need to set out what are the role and that you have in your department. What is the short-term duration? If you are running EWA, I would say, for example, some entity they have 3-month experience for EWA, I would say, or do you have like CC conference, or if you are hosting BD event, what is the role of short-term? What is the role that you're gonna have for long for medium term, or what is gonna be the role that you're gonna have for long term in your department? Like some entity they have manager role for 12 months, and so on so on. So TM, the first thing is TM and the MCVB in different department need to map out this bigger picture in the like big timeline, and then based on this one, then the TM, how you gonna synergy with TM and how you're gonna have a conversation with them is based on in a vertical way. Like this one, you're gonna say, okay, I need to have my member to rely in February, the team leader to rely in February. Then which means that you need to aware that before February, in January, you need to spend a little bit of time to work with TM on recruiting people, training the people, or tracking or asking the TM if we can have enough ideal HR to be ready before February or not, and so on, so on. And also, like for example, in the end at July, right? So July, you usually see that there's a lot of people gonna finish their experience. So which means that in this way, team are gonna come to you and say, okay, now we need to have a training with AB team and also the team leader to understand how we can make the debrief meeting happen, and so on, so on. So which means that in this month, when you plan for your focus, you also need to look into, okay, this is the month, this is the one of the focus that in this month I need to spend a part of my focus in member experience because it's the big of finish and complete. And also, but after we have a bigger picture, we're gonna look into smaller of each experience. So in this way, every experience, even long term, short term, or medium term, they're gonna have a bit of similar funnel. So in this case, when there's something wrong happen with your member, when there's something wrong with happen with your talent capacity and everything, you should have a conversation with TM. And in this case, all the conversation should going around this full scope of the member experience as I showing here, and we're gonna understand about their full scope of experience through the journey in this way as well. Like for example, in the approval state, are we achieve enough number of approve or not? Or in terms of in the state of realization, how many people is breaking the realization, and so on, so on. Or what is the quality of the approval, or what is the quality of each state in the funnel. So that by this way, you're gonna know where the conversation between you and TM should start, and you're gonna know how we can solve a thing together. Because not all the time the solution is about training. The solution gonna be a lot of things as well, not just to deliver more trainings. Yeah, and this one is just the material that I will send for your TM. And also in the MC planning, they need to also give in the insight about standard fulfillment or LBS for you as well to understand if we are actually having a good standard delivery or good LBS or not. Yep, so that's one is about the short-term operation. For regarding to the long-term operation, they're gonna be the next conversation. So you used to know that we have the corner about power corner between MCB, BD, and finance, right? So also, how about we're gonna have a corner between TM, OD, and MCB? So if you are the OD in the house, then this should be one of the corner that you can start to have with them as well. And also as MCVB, in other department, if you want to talk about how we're gonna manage our community in this way, how we're gonna have the projects about culture, then this kind of project, or if you want to gather the insight about the diversity of our member, or what is the value, the culture, behavior of our member, then it's gonna always coming from this space, the space of culture and people corner. Yeah, so this is something that you can also align with them in terms of like how we can shape the people to behave in a certain way, or to have a certain behavior that allow us to achieve the performance as well. And finally, it just basically, I think that you don't need to be the one that deliver the training. TM gonna be the one to do it. However, in this case, I just want to let you know that these are the things that you need to put it apart in your plan when we have the education for yourself, and also for your LCEB in the commission, and also for the team leader as well. Because like right now, people need to understand about the change management that's happening. We will start to change the way that we are planning for that member right now. So it's not gonna be changing in the old way, like each member, but it's gonna be changing in the different way of planning. And also in terms of member experience, like understand about member persona. And actually, when you decide the JD for them, when you assign a JD for them, let's think about BDB first as well, because usually in the past we think about JD first, but actually BDB first or JD first, these two things need to be balanced. And also standard delivery or framework tracking, understand how everything is working with TM in a new way is happening. And I'm also telling the network that we need to make things to be more simple so that everyone can understand and can deliver the experience for member at the same time. Yep, so I think this is also the end of my keynote. Mainly, I want to let you know is MXP, when we launching the program, is not a magic experience program that we can draw for fast implementation and expect that member can become a superstar, superwoman, superman after 1 or 2 months, or even that we're gonna have more member. And also, as I share with you, not having more member right now is not really, is it gonna be a good thing or not? Like it really depends on your entity and your department as well. So right now, you can only see if your department is, and if your member can implement the change, if they have enough capacity, if they can become a good leader to make the change happen for the department and the entity, if we can actually implement the MXP. And in this part, we can actually first start to implement step by step by this standard and another standard, because we cannot rushing for this way. And also because of this, I believe that a global strategy is not gonna be fit, or even a national strategy cannot be fit for every situation of members' context, because in different departments, we're gonna have different situation as well. So by the way that when we are tracking the funnel by different department and manage and planning for your membership in the department in the funnel with the MXP, then you can actually define what is the wrong thing happening with your member in the department. And by this way, TM can provide different solution for different department and customize the strategy for you, instead of like we are just giving reactive solution. Because in the past, most of the thing that when we drop in number of member, the only thing that we usually do is we just deliver more training, for example, or we try to host more space. However, not all the time that like host more space or deliver more training gonna be the key solution. And also, just very interesting fact is actually AI and AO in the AI and AO transition for next year, everyone start to embed the MX, the standard implementation as a module for the team leader. So right now, there's no right or wrong, and we also don't know if we don't actually plug and play and do and implement the program first. And I'm for sure that after this, I would like to suggest you to think about what could be the conversation or topic that in the MC replanning agenda and also in the synergy space with TM, you can start to think about it, and how you can actually starting to change the way that we are having a conversation about membership. Because I believe that the way that we change the topic, or the way that we change the way how we conduct the conversation gonna make a lot of different as well. And a good conversation gonna be the starting point for a good thing to come. And it's also the end of the session that I want to share with you the MXP implementation. And thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Ni, and thank you everyone for the membership journey implementation. So now we are moving into the track session. So please join accordingly to your track sessions that you see in your Google Calendar. And if you have more sessions that are like other sessions that you have to